Hey everyone, North Central here. Thanks for tuning in. I did a video not too long ago where I was tying up a tomato plant and I used a bowline knot and kind of showed how to tie it. And ever since then I've gotten a few different requests for me to go over a couple different knots. And so what I decided that I was going to do was just simply start a little knot series and just go over different knots, put out 1 or 2 videos or so a week on how to tie these knots, what they're used for, a little bit of history about them perhaps. And what I decided to do was I've got 3 different things of paracord here, one black, one orange, and one kind of a bright blue, so that it's a little bit easier to see things, especially on this black table. I was going to use these 2. But before we get into that, I need to go over a little bit of basics about just rope in general, or cordage in general. So let me bring the camera just a little bit closer so you can see the cordage and what I'm talking about, and we'll get started. Alright, so like I said, I've got 3 different colors of cordage here. I'm going to go ahead and toss the black one out here for a little bit and use these 2. A very nice orange and a blue. So let's go ahead and just get these strung out here real quickly. These are all about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 feet long or so. So we're just going to use the blue one here for some terminology of rope, because the terminology is really fairly important as you're tying these, okay? So let's say I was, put that down there on the floor, and I was going to be tying a knot using this end, okay? The end right there, if you can see that in the middle of the screen, just the end, that's considered the working end of the cordage or the rope. Okay, as where the other end would be that you're not working with, okay, this would be the side that you're working, this would be the side that's not working, it's tied to a tree or it's on the floor, whatever. This is the standing end, okay? And of course, all this cord or rope in between, this is all called the bight. So you've got the working end, okay? You've got the standing end, okay, that you're not working with, you're working with the working end, and then you've got the bight of the rope, okay, and that's all, everything in between the working and the standing end. Alright, so a couple other little tidbits, okay, where if you were to do this, okay, and all I've done is just taken one section, get everything out the way here except for this, and put it over the other section. Right here where they cross, this is called the crossing point, of course. Now I break it down a little bit differently, okay? If you take it and you cross it over top of, okay, that's what I consider an upper cross. If you take it underneath, okay, this is what I would consider a bottom cross, okay? Your working end is going up underneath and crossing under, okay, your bight. So this would be a bottom cross or an under cross. Okay, another one would be if you used, well, you can use the same piece of rope, but I like to show it with 2 different ones. So let's go ahead and break apart this one here real quick. I've got these bound pretty tight. Okay, now you could do this with 1 piece of rope, but it's a little bit easier to see with 2. So you've got your piece of cordage, you've got another cordage. If you were to take this around and put it similar to this, okay, what you have right here is what's considered an elbow. Okay, it just goes around the bight of the rope and comes back around the other. That's considered an elbow. And then of course, if you were to make a crossover, let's just do an upper crossover like so. Okay, a crossover generally, not always, but generally, especially if you're using the same piece of cordage, makes, of course, a loop. And that's really the basic terminology of the cordage. So with that being the basic terminology of cordage or rope, I think what I'll do is put out a certain amount of videos, you know, maybe 1 or 2 a week or so, on tying knots. And I'm going to start with the basic Boy Scout requirement knots. These are required knots that a Boy Scout would have to learn for advancement. I found that those are very, very handy knots, and of course I know pretty much all of them. Being an old Boy Scout, you tie them so much that you just commit them to memory. And they're good knots to know. You know, cordage and knowing how to tie knots in cordage for different situations or different projects or things like that is, you know, pretty much essential in almost everyday life. You know, it can be essential for your job, depending on what you do. You know, whenever you go camping or hiking, or if you're in a survival situation, or even in the, you know, a pending apocalypse. You know, being able to tie a piece of cordage and having it do what it is that you need it to do, and knowing how to tie that knot to secure it or bind things together. Those are some really, really great things that we all should really know, other than, you know, just the basic knot of tying our shoes. We should all know a few different knots. So I'm going to go through the series. The next video we'll go through how to tie probably a bowline or a square knot or something like that. So until next time, this is North Central. Thanks for watching.